The number 2 blueprint, the ghosts of challenges past. There is a pattern in history so consistent it borders on a law of nature. It's not about the rise and fall of empires. It's about the failure of their rivals. Every time a dominant superpower has emerged, a number 2 has risen to challenge it. Rome had Persia. Britain had Germany. The US had the Soviet Union. And today, the US faces China. The universal assumption is that this challenger, this number 2, is the heir apparent. That it will be the next number 1. But history tells a different story. A darker, more repetitive one. The number 2 almost never takes the throne. In fact, when the number 1 falls, the number 2 is usually destroyed right alongside it. Their entire world, their epoch, vanishes with them. This is the story of the ghosts of challenges past, the pattern that has doomed every would-be superpower in history. And the terrifying evidence that history might just be repeating itself again, right now. The pattern, the 5 unbreakable rules. Let's break down the pattern. After studying every major epoch in history, 5 rules emerge. Rule 1. Every number 2 exists only in the arena built by the number 1. Their power, their economy, their very identity is a reaction to the dominant power. The Soviet Union defined itself in opposition to American capitalism. Germany's naval buildup was a direct challenge to British sea power. Rule 2. Their rivalry defines the age. The Cold War, the Punic Wars, the Anglo-German arms race, these aren't just conflicts, they are the frameworks of their entire epoch. Rule 3. When the number 1 fades, their entire epoch dies with them. The rules of the game change. The arena collapses. Rule 4. The number 2 does not take over. They are so specialized for a game that no longer exists, they cannot adapt. And Rule 5, a paradigm shift occurs. A new power, often from the periphery, emerges to build a new arena, becoming the new number 1. Let's see how this pattern has played out, with brutal consistency, across 4 distinct epochs of human history. Episode 1. The Ancient Arena, Egypt versus the Hittites. Let's start at the beginning. Over 3,000 years ago, the civilized world was a narrow strip of the Mediterranean, dominated by the Egyptian Empire at its peak. With its endless grain, golden pharaohs, and immortal monuments, Egypt was the undisputed superpower. And it had a fierce number 2, the Hittite Empire. A military powerhouse based in Anatolia, with advanced iron weapons and a terrifying chariot corps. They were the only power that could stare down the Egyptian war machine. Their rivalry was the geopolitics of the Bronze Age. And it climaxed in the greatest battle of the ancient world, the Battle of Kadesh. 2 colossal armies, Pharaoh Ramses II himself, a stalemate that ended with history's first recorded peace treaty. They were the USA and USSR of the Bronze Age, locked in a Cold War. But then, around 1200 BC, it all came crashing down. Not because of a war between them, but because of a mysterious event historians call the Bronze Age collapse. The entire international system, the trade routes, the royal palaces, the complex economy that supported their empires, shattered into 1,000 pieces. So, what happened to the Hittites, the mighty number 2? Did they rally and become the new masters of the world? No. They vanished. Completely. Their capital was burned and abandoned, forgotten for over 3 millennia. The Egyptian Empire, the number 1, survived, but it was a hollow shell, never to regain its former glory. The entire arena of their rivalry was gone. The Bronze Age was over. The first number 2 in recorded history, and the pattern was set: when the epoch ends, the challenger doesn't inherit the throne. It gets buried in the rubble. Episode 2. The classical arena, Rome versus Persia. For centuries, the known world was dominated by two superpowers, the Roman Empire and the Persian Empire. They were the USA and USSR of the ancient world, locked in a forever war that stretched from the deserts of Syria to the mountains of Armenia. The Persian Empire was the ultimate number 2, powerful, rich, and a permanent threat to Rome. But their entire existence was defined by this rivalry. And then, the Roman world began to crumble. But the Persians didn't march into Rome and claim the throne. Instead, a new force emerged from the deserts of Arabia, the Islamic Caliphates. The Caliphates didn't play by the old Roman-Persian rules. They swept through the exhausted Persian Empire and completely destroyed it. Then they conquered Rome's richest provinces in the Middle East and North Africa. The number 2 didn't become number 1. It was wiped off the map. The classical epoch was over, and a new one began. Episode 3. The colonial arena, Spain versus the Ottomans. Now, let's jump to the 16th century. After Columbus, the Spanish Empire became the undisputed master of the globe, with endless gold and silver from the Americas. Their number 2? The mighty Ottoman Empire, a superpower stretching across 3 continents, threatening Europe's very heart. Catholic Spain versus the Muslim Ottomans defined the age. They clashed on land and sea in a struggle for supremacy. But Spain's empire faded, bankrupted by its own wealth. Did the Ottomans take its place? No. The entire game of colonial empire based on pure extraction was ending. New powers rose, Britain and the Netherlands, who were better at trade, finance, and naval power. They built a new, global commercial system. The Ottoman Empire, the great number 2, didn't adapt. It earned the name the sick man of Europe and slowly crumbled, its rivalry with Spain becoming a historical footnote. Episode 4. The imperial arena, Britain versus Germany. This brings us to the clearest example. For 200 years, the British Empire ruled the world. Its number 2 at one time was France and others, but later, the German Empire, young, ambitious, and building a fleet to directly challenge British naval dominance. This rivalry didn't just define an age, it exploded into World War I. Germany's entire purpose was to dethrone Britain. And what happened? Germany was crushed, humiliated, and bankrupted. But Britain, the victor, was so exhausted it never recovered. Its empire began to unravel. The number 2 was destroyed, and the number 1 was mortally wounded. The epoch of the British and indeed European dominance was rounding up as World War II was just around the corner. The entire framework of their competition, the game of colonial empires, was over. And from the periphery, a new power emerged that had funded the war and avoided the devastation. The United States. It didn't beat Britain at its own game, it invented a new one. The American epoch had begun. Episode 5. The caveat. The Babylonian test case. Now, you might be thinking, is this pattern too clean? Does it only work for these handpicked examples? This is a fair question. So, let's stress test it with one of the most famous empires in history, Babylon. For much of its early history, Babylon doesn't fit our pattern. Why? because there was no single number one. The ancient Middle East was a chaotic, multipolar world of competing city-states and kingdoms, Assyria, Elam, others, all vying for power. Babylon was a major player, but not a system-defining hegemon. Without a clear number one, there can be no true number two. But then, something changes. In the 6th century BC, the Neo-Babylonian Empire arises. Under Nebuchadnezzar II, it becomes the undisputed master of the Near East. It destroys the temples of its rivals and rules a vast empire. For the first time, Babylon is the true number one, and it creates a clear number two, Egypt, which is pushing into the Levant to challenge Babylonian dominance. And what happens next? The pattern snaps into place with perfect clarity. This Babylonian epoch did not end with Egypt taking over. It ended when a completely new power, from outside their system, emerged, the Achaemenid Persian Empire under Cyrus the Great. The Persians didn't play by the old rules. They conquered Babylon, and then they conquered Egypt. The entire ancient Near Eastern order was swept away in a paradigm shift. So, Babylon teaches us a crucial lesson: the pattern only activates once true, system-defining dominance is achieved. The moment Babylon reached that peak, the rules applied. The number two, Egypt, did not inherit its empire. A new arena was built by someone else. Episode 6. The Modern Arena, America versus China. So, where does this leave us today? We are living within a dominant American epoch, built on its economic, technological, and military power. And for the first time since the fall of the Soviet Union, there is an undisputed number two, China. Its rise fits the ancient blueprint with chilling precision. Rule 1. China's modern power exists in the arena built by the number one. Its economic miracle was fueled by integration into the US-led global order, the WTO, dollar-based trade, and American consumer markets. Rule 2. Their rivalry is defining our age. The Thucydides trap, the trade wars, the tech Cold War, and the battle for influence in the South China Sea are the frameworks of 21st century geopolitics. The universal assumption is that China is the heir apparent, destined to become the next number one. But the ghosts of challengers past offer a stark warning, not a prophecy. If the American epoch were to fade, the historical pattern suggests China would not simply take its place. The entire system, the global supply chains, the financial networks, the digital ecosystems, that China's power is specialized for could collapse or transform beyond recognition. As the number two, its identity and economy are fundamentally reactive to and dependent on the current order. The real threat for China may not be losing the current race but winning a game that is about to cease existing. The rivalry itself is accelerating the very forces that could end the epoch: decoupling, the reshoring of supply chains, and the rise of new technologies that render old advantages obsolete. History's message is not that America is eternal, but that the fall of a number one is a cataclysm that typically annihilates the number two alongside it. The focus should not be on who wins the current game, but on what new paradigm shift is already brewing on the periphery. The next number one likely won't be the power that best challenges America, but the one that best understands the game that comes after America. The ghosts of challengers past have spoken. From the Hittites to the Soviets, the pattern is clear: in almost every epoch-ending case, the number two never inherits the throne. But this raises a profound question. Is this just a quirk of history? Or is it a deeper, universal law of competition itself? Perhaps not. But what if this exact same pattern is destroying corporate empires right now? That the same epoch-ending forces that toppled global superpowers are playing out in boardrooms from Silicon Valley to Wall Street? That the rivalries you watch in the business news are all following the same ancient, doomed script? This is not the end of the story. It is only the beginning. In part 2 of this video, we will look to see how this law of the number two, This relationship between two competing empires is most probably the hidden force shaping our world, our economy, and the very products we use every day. The pattern may not care about flags or stock tickers. It is near absolute. And it might just be happening again.